Welcome to Horticulture, where a group of extension professionals and plant people talk about the business, production, and joy of planting seeds and helping them grow. Join us as we explore the culture of horticulture. Hello, beautiful plant people and co-hosts. How are we doing today?
So we're not beautiful plant people.
I mean,
I'm a co-host, so I'm not a beautiful plant.
You're an extraordinary plant person.
Wow.
Not
defined by my looks. I like that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. How's everybody feeling? Good? Yeah? Crisp?
Pretty good.
Fall?
Good.
All those good things?
Feeling crisp.
Here in Kentucky, at the time of this recording, the weather is very nice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to answer with that. Like, how are you? How are you? I'm just going to be like crisp. I feel like that's going to be my new answer.
Crisp.
I'm just crisp.
I'm gonna be like, okay.
All right. Well, pretty used to that, Alexis. Okay. Question. What is a food that you don't like, but that everybody else does?
I got it.
Got it.
Yeah,
Go.
I got one.
Ready?
Pickled pig's feet.
That everybody else likes.
Okay, not everybody else likes that one, babe.
I thought you said that I like that not everybody else likes.
No. One that you don't like, but everybody else does. An inverse of that.
So we're going the inverse way of this.
Yeah, basically your unpopular food opinion.
Yeah, what's your unpopular food opinion?
Ray? You like pickled pig's feet?
Oh, I do. Absolutely love those. Yes, I do.
Is there memory attached to it in particular, or you feel like you would love it you just for the love of the foot?
Just as a kid seeing that in a jar and thinking, wow, that's gross. I'm going to have to get me some of that. Yeah, no. I hate Kroger's. I remember the aisle and everything. Mom was like, you're not going to eat that. This is disgusting. I'm like, I want that. So, and I love it,
And now we know where your kid gets it from.
Yeah, strange.
Wait, so you're saying that you were a pioneer of eating pickled pig's feet in your family?
I mean, I think it was done before then because we butchered our own hogs in the fall. It was kind of a tradition. We'd all get the uncles together and scrape and do all that and all the stuff. Now we never pickled our own pig's feet because that was a very involved process.
And like it's different. Like you see the pig, but then the pigs turn into sausage and other things, and you're like, oh, that's just sausage. Versus if you see the feet in the freezer, you're like, oh, that was
Gub's foot.
Yeah. Oh,
yes, that was bacon or Sally's foot or whoever. Yeah, that's a little different.
I love that foot.
Yeah,
it was one of four that he had.
Yes, one doesn't need that one.
His back right one was his favorite.
I messed that up. So somebody else go.
I have two that I feel like are kind of similar. Maybe not. They're both cheeses.
Oh.
I do not like blue cheese.
Oh.
No matter how many times I try it.
Man.
And same thing with goat cheese. Goat cheese tastes like how goats smell.
Yeah.
I don't like that per se. Yeah.
Right.
Barnyard.
And it's one of those things like I keep trying it. Or there's other foods like that I keep trying that I'm like, this is the year I'm gonna like it.
I'm proud of you for keep trying though. I am.
Right, but it never works out. I just don't like them.
Friend of the pod. Maybe this is a common thing with people with kids. Friend of the pod, Sean, in his house refers to a bite of something that you think you're probably not gonna like, and then you don't like it as a no thank you bite. So you tried it, no thank you.
My coworker called them hello bites. But I guess that was like trying something new.
Wow.
Hello bite. Yeah.
A hello bite. Okay.
Yeah. Brett, what's your thing that you don't like that most people do?
Limit does not exist. Inverse better than
I would say within like normie people, I am extremely not picky.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be like the guy who's like, oh yeah, I love everything. I'll eat anything. That's not necessarily true. But as far as like things that are popular, I do think for me, my opinions tend to manifest more as people think this is really good. And I'm like, it's fine.
You're like, eh.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of examples that wouldn't offend people.
Oh, say the ones that would offend.
That's a tough one. I mean, popular things are popular for a reason.
So,
generally.
Well, like when we went on the
is it pumpkin spice?
Oh, pumpkin spice. That is a good example. I do not care for pumpkin spice. Thank you, Jessica. That's a good save.
What do you got against it?
Again, if someone made me a pumpkin spice latte, I would drink it and be like, no, this is pretty good. But I am not like, this is good.
Mid.
Yeah.
Is candy corn popular?
Is what?
Is candy corn.
Is candy corn popular?
Are we bringing candy corn back?
Candy corn is popular, Brett.
It is popular.
Candy corn is popular.
Then mark me down for candy corn because it sucks.
Yes. For those that like sorrow, here's the food for you.
Oh,
yeah. I've thought a lot about the idea of like, well, if you just add a bunch of stuff to it, it actually tastes pretty good. Like,
if you totally mask the taste and texture and hide it into oblivion, it's not bad.
I like the taste and the texture.
If it tastes like green peanuts, then it's pretty good.
If it tastes like peanuts.
What about you? What about you, Alexis?
Yeah, my thing that I will eat, it's just like I'll pick them off if the opportunity presents itself, is bell peppers. I don't like bell peppers. I've never liked them.
Like green ones?
Any of them.
Oh,
I can taste the flavor.
What?
Yeah. And I'll like
even
if they're on something or in something, I will eat them if they're cooked. If they're fresh, I will absolutely not touch them.
If they're dipped in blue cheese, would you eat them?
I don't care what they're dipped in.
Oh my god!
Wow!
I can go with you on the green ones.
Wow.
But not the
whatever
colored
you know
ones.
That flavor that the green ones have, that like aftertaste. I taste that in the red ones as well, and that's what I don't like. I can like whatever that compound is. I'm just like, fresh. I won't touch
you get it or you agree?
I prefer them cooked.
Yeah.
Than a fresh bell pepper.
I can tolerate
I can't
them
stand
cooked,
out,
but I don't.
I can eat a tomato out in the field like an
yes,
apple.
Same.
But I'm not going to do that with a pepper. But like
like
people in my
peppers,
family,
however,
can like just eat them like an apple out in the field.
Whatever that. I don't know what that compound is. I need
I'm
to look
with
it up.
arugula. That compound, I'm a part of the minority that can taste that, and it makes me physically gag.
Oh,
like
I like
arugula.
Of rocket.
What's that?
Cilantro or arugula?
Arugula. It's more arugula. Now maybe cilantro is kind of fine, but there's a compound in there. It makes me gag. Makes me. Yeah,
cilantro kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful segue, Jessica.
Nice.
That is something. Now that you have brought that up, that is something. I also, I can deal with it, but every time when I eat cilantro, I'm going to think of stink bugs. Because the same chemical that like makes up cilantro, that like taste, the smell, is the same thing that stink bugs use for their stinkiness. Yes, so everyone always talks about it being soap, but for me,
I can eat stink bugs, but I can't eat cilantro. It's weird.
Right. So that compound, is that a defense mechanism? The stinkiness of the stink bug?
Yeah, just a way to try to deter predators and us from bothering them.
Gotcha.
Makes me get out the limes.
I feel like we should take a second to be like how humans, when there's plants, they're just like, oh, was this used to deflect anybody from bothering you? Make it mine. Like,
yes,
we're like a tobacco, like a hot capsaicin, peppers. We're like humans are like, this is great. Like every time a plant's like, damn it, I just feel like
I got this sweet defense mechanism. Check it out. And they're like, oh,
and then
this is delicious.
Gets me jacked. And we're like,
give me some of that.
Does it assault my taste buds? Yes. Do I love it? Absolutely.
Yes and yes.
Yeah. So I guess backing up just one step, that was a beautiful segue, by the way, Jessica. Fall invaders is the topic of the day. More specifically, seasonal insect invaders, because fall invaders could be many things when we're talking about invaders. But
invaders,
we're talking about mostly insects, mostly. And we started off this conversation with stink bugs. Is it about that time of the year for those, Jessica? Or?
Yes, I have already started smelling them outside my garage.
Oh, wow.
I used to, in a previous life job, when brown marmorated stink bug first arrived at our state, I actually helped raise them in colonies, which sounds crazy, but it was a way we were putting.
You were
eggs,
the one that released them,
right?
I was thinking
we were putting eggs out to see what parasitized them, because we were hoping for some like natural predators. So it was really cool when it happened to see like wasp hatch out of the stink bug eggs. But anyways, it is that time for them to start coming in. And once they start coming, they kind of release pheromones that say, hey, everybody, come on over. It's a great place to stay. And then you can see quite a few that come in. Probably more are in your house than you realize are there. They can get in some pretty tight spaces. But the thing to keep in mind with the brown marmorated stink bug is they're not reproducing in your house. They are not trying to eat any of your houseplants or anything. I haven't ever seen any on my houseplants. I know they freak a lot of people out because they're really loud when they fly around. They have that cilantro smell, but they're basically there to hang out for the winter and then leave immediately in the spring when it starts getting warm again. But the trick with those guys is to knock them in some soapy water. Don't crush them because that's when they really start to stink or can,
unless you like the smell of cilantro.
Unless you like that smell.
Is it the brown marmorated, the stink bug that you can put a lot over just like a shallow dish of water and they'll be gravitated towards that? I've seen that as a trap solution.
Yeah, and that works great also with attic flies. When people get attic flies, which are the same as like those horn and face flies. So those of you who live out in the country and have a lot of cattle around you, and then you suddenly have an influx of flies in your house.
Yeah, we get calls on that all the time in Bourbon County. Yeah,
but that's a common thing, like a light over a bucket of water, and they kind of just like
fall
knock themselves down in there.
I have read and heard, I've never tried that trap myself, but it's a very effective trap for the stink bug and other insects, as you're saying. So
I get confused because my soapy water always tastes like cilantro water.
That's weird. Yeah, don't drink the soapy water.
I've never smelled cilantro from a stink bug, so I don't know. And I do like cilantro, which is good. Yeah, no, I never noticed it, even when I've crushed them. I literally crushed one in my fingers last night and didn't smell it.
Much of a sensitivity to it either.
You didn't smell it at all?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, maybe you have COVID?
I can taste the cilantro.
Did you taste the stink bug?
Yeah. Did you taste the stink? I hope not.
Cilantro.
Yeah. So stink bugs,
to me, the stink bugs have more of a strong smell than this. I haven't tasted the stink bugs, to be fair. So.
I have not either.
I wonder if Dr. Potter has, because I feel like if anybody has, it's him.
Yeah, he would most likely be the one.
Yeah, don't eat stink bugs. I feel like we need to say that.
We don't. I mean,
but they're not going to hurt your pets and stuff if they do.
Research.
They don't typically sting or bite or anything like that, do they? Once they get in, yeah.
How many stink bugs is too many stink bugs to eat?
It's like peaches.
The limit does not exist.
You know what? I bet Dr. Larson would do a research study on that for us as well.
Yeah, it reminds me of the cicada episode.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one. That veered off in a direction.
Ray was like so excited when we started talking about eating them, and Josh too.
Absolutely,
like
extreme food.
And then we learned that like if you have a shellfish allergy, you can't eat cicadas, and that was mind-boggling to me. Like, excuse me, what?
How did they find that out?
I would say in general, I find that there's times where like with the idea of these home invader pest insects that come in when it starts getting cold outside. A lot of times I look and I find them and I'm like, oh man, people are really concerned about this. It must be like really destructive in some way. And usually they're not. That's been my experience. It's like, it's gross and therefore I would like for it to die.
Well, the study was amazing that, like you said, they don't do anything, but it was a UK study, I'm pretty sure, an old one, that they just polled people and they had just overwhelmingly negative opinion, even though the insects were not having like a big impact on. It was the fact that there was a spider there or a stink bug or whatever. So yeah.
As you know, I am a bug person, and I think it like either people are like amazed or they're terrified when I always am like, look, insects are all around you, like all the time. And if we did not have them, we could not function. And they get freaked out by that. But Brett, you're exactly right. Almost all those insects that come in the fall, and not all insects, right? Some of our arachnids too, that cause, I feel like, the most issues for people.
I have no love for spiders.
Myself included with some of them, because again, that's an arachnid, not an insect. You know, none of them, they're just there to hang out. I mean, I don't necessarily want them hanging out at my house either, but I'm not worried that they're going to hurt my pets or my children or eat my food or stuff, you know. The fall invaders are very different than cockroaches, right?
That's a whole different ball game. Inside your home. Yeah.
What about?
We're talking about. Oh yeah, go ahead, Alexis.
I would say, well, what about Asian lady beetles coming inside?
Yeah, same. Is it the same for them?
Same as like the brown marmorated stink bug, right? They've been around longer. I think they are. Well, brown marmorated and like those lady beetles both arrived in like the 90s, but we just now, the lady beetles have been here a lot longer. Originally, it was thought that they were harming a lot of our native lady beetles, but they've done recent studies that have showed that they're really not, that they're
Sweet.
not bad, like, but they're not like making a huge biological control impact either, but they're not,
They're just kind of around.
They're just around, and they do the same thing. They're coming in, they are overwintering, and then they want to get out. With those guys, you just got to be careful about crushing them because they can stain like fabric and stuff. Yeah.
Suck them up with your vacuum.
The thing about a vacuum I've learned with like all of these, and that's my preferred method on the inside. I don't put down a lot of chemical products at all because in the end, if they die, you're going to have to vacuum them up. So I skip the middle step of the chemical product just personally and go straight for the vacuum. But I have learned I have both a bagged and a bagless vac. If you suck up a lot of lady beetles in a vacuum that has a bag, that's going to release some interesting smells if you keep that bag in the vacuum. So beware that if you have a new bag, you may want to, if you have a choice, go with the bagless because you have to empty the bagless almost every single time. And it doesn't produce that smell because you're emptying it. But once you pick up a lot of these stink bugs or lady beetles in a bagged vacuum, the very fact that they're just mixed in with all the dust and stuff in there and the air comes in and then it's pushed back out of that bag vacuum, there will be a smell in your house, I assure you. So be aware of that. But I do like the vacuuming method for just kind of picking them up and getting rid of them that way. I think it's one of the best options for a lot of these things on the inside is just quickly dispatching them with that method. So, but we have been getting a few calls and it must be really hard to predict like when's going to be a bad year for lady beetles or brown marmorated stink bugs. I mean, is that the case or are there models or, I mean, is there any kind of predictor methods for this?
Where I worked with brown marmorated, Lexington hit its peak a couple of years ago with peak population numbers.
Yeah.
And it's usually around that first weekend in October, we start seeing them roll in.
Okay.
And it's just like with all insects, daylight changing, right? Days are getting shorter. That's what triggers it for them to be like, oh, it's time to start like moving in, even if those temperatures are not cooler yet. It's at daylight. Because I've seen stink bugs. I've seen some of the Asian lady beetles. Unfortunately, where I live, like the flies, because I have cattle around me.
Yes.
I don't around me, but I get lots of calls about it. Box elder bugs.
Yeah, we get a lot of those calls, and people that live around streams where is the preferred habitat of boxed elder trees, which is a native habitat for the boxed elder bugs. It's always my first question to homeowners is, do you live around a stream or waterway? And the majority of times they do, and that's leads me immediately to go down the boxed elder bug path.
Describe what those bugs look like, because I think that one's like less known than stink bugs and Asian lady beetle.
The boxed elder bug?
Yeah.
Well, it changes radically over its life, doesn't it, Jessica? I mean, the look of it really changes.
The adults look like that are coming into your home.
It's going to have like that diamond shaped body.
Yeah.
And the other thing about it, it's going to be like a dark, almost like a charcoal color with bright red striping kind of on it, bright red marking, which I think that's what also gets people worried about it. The other thing that it looks, and we won't go into a lot of detail about this, but it also is in like the same kind of family as the kissing bug. That is a dangerous insect. But these guys do not bite humans or anything. They, again, are looking for a place to overwinter. Sometimes you'll see them actually just kind of like on the outside of houses hanging out. But they don't harm anything. They also often get confused with milkweed bugs as well because they have that bright red color. But they'll be in masses together.
Yeah, the immature stages of those are very striking, very red. If you've seen a lot of those in one spot, they can be, I mean, the color you can pick out from a long ways away on the immature stages of those. But I know that one's often mistaken for some of our natives, but so is the brown marmorated. Isn't there a stink bug that is native? I was thinking to Kentucky. There's some lookalikes. I was thinking. I don't remember the specifics.
Several brown stink bugs that look native, or like spine soldier bug that looks like a stink bug, that is brown in color. That brown marmorated stink bug, it's a little bigger, which is kind of impressive that it can fit into so many places, like tight fitting spaces, for it to be such a larger stink bug to get in your house.
That's how I feel when I get into my jeans in the morning.
Right.
It's the dryer.
Like, how did I get these on?
Line dry everything. So that's the three biggies, is the three we just now talked about, but there are some others. But other than, I mean, I know we're talking about fall invaders here, but it seems like that we get calls throughout the year. Here recently, for instance, we had a lot of moisture, a lot of rain. I mean, lots of rain up and down the East Coast. But when we get either a really dry spell or a really wet spell, we tend to have home invaders as far as insects go during those times too, I've noticed. But fall, it seems like that's a seasonal thing. It just comes every single year. You can kind of look for these things, seems like.
Another one to mention that I said is not an insect, but arachnids, are wolf spiders. This is the time where they're trying to run in. I know, like, I have to tell myself constantly that I'm like, you are good. You are a great predator. You're eating all the bad things out there, but they're just so big, right? Like, they can live to be 5 years old. They're big. They're fast. I live in an older farmhouse, so they like run in my door this time of year, and I kind of like stomp my feet and chase them back out the door, trying not to kill them.
Imagine Jessica just stomping her feet,
and I'm like, "Get out!"
facing off with a giant spider, trying to get it out the door.
Right. But because I try to tell myself, I'm like, they're good, and you see them more with the weather change, right? Where the temperatures have started getting cooler.
The temperature too? Okay.
Yeah, and then a lot of times when they come in your house, like, again, they're not harmful to you. They will bite, right? Like, if you were to pick it up and mess with it. And I've been told, like they say, they compare it to like a bee sting maybe feeling, but otherwise they're not gonna bite. They're predators. They don't make, webs or anything really. But they're gonna eat other insects in your house, and they're like an accidental, like, coming in your house.
We get those in our basement.
Element.
Yeah. We have glue traps out, and it's amazing how many of those, like little insect glue traps, that we leave out year round in like the utility room part of our basement. It's amazing how many of those things we catch in the fall.
And that's a great way to combat those guys. Like, if you do not want them in your house, or if any spiders, if you ever have any concerns about, like, did I see a brown recluse? Which probably, most likely you did not. Most of the time, a lot of people think they see brown recluses, and we have hundreds of brown spiders. But once you actually see one and know what it looks like, it's very easy to identify. But going back to what Ray said, those sticky cards, putting them in the corners of rooms, because spiders tend to walk around the perimeter of rooms, and that's the best way to trap those kind of critters. They like to go around perimeters of rooms along the walls. But that's just good to, if you think you have something, catch
Jessica,
them that way.
Are you the insect catcher in your house, or does Sean participate in that activity?
I am the insect. We're insect people.
That's true. I mean, he did grow up with an entomologist as a father, so.
Yes. So I would say I'm good at getting them all out. Some of the wolf spiders, I make him get out. One time in my life, though, there's one spider in Kentucky that I just can't deal with. And that's a fishing spider. Have anyone ever seen those?
They're huge.
No, I don't think I have.
Oh my gosh.
They're massive. Yeah.
I can't.
They're mostly just crawling around when I see them. I've never caught them out on
huge
on the lake.
You never went after the hunt.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah. So I had one get in my house once, and I
realize how big spiders can get when I go down to like Florida, and you go to like far Florida, and then you see the webs that are 8 foot across the trail, and there's tiny birds in the web, and I'm like, whoa, Sheila. I like giant spider territory. Yeah. But spiders are my least favorite of all of I guess they're more of not a seasonal invader, but sort of an accidental invader, like you said.
Can you
they
put
are my
words,
least favorite.
Can you put words to why
was that? A
Why
spider?
they're your least favorite, or why, like,
Probably, I
I'm
grew
not
up with, like
questioning you, I'm just
no, no,
curious if you
no,
could put words to it.
spiders have always been snakes, no
Did you
problem.
see him start
Copperheads
to
and
itch when he
rattlesnakes,
started
yeah, I
talking
started
about it?
scratching. But, I think it was when I was very young, we had lots of, like, fields around, and then in the morning, I hated walking through, like, even though they're beautiful now, and appreciation for them, like the orb weavers, the big
Mhm.
spiders that have impressive size, or the yellow garden spiders, people call them. But I'd walk through those webs, and I immediately would start just beating myself trying to figure out where the spider was. And we had those everywhere around some of our fields. And I would just walk through spider webs. And I think it all started there, and me wondering, where is this spider on me? So it started at a very young age. Yeah.
I used to not like all spiders, and then now I'm like good with most of them, right?
Mhm.
But except those fishing spiders. And my father-in-law
Black
is
widows you're good with? Like
entomologist.
even the nasties?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't yeah, black widows are totally fine. Brown recluses, I definitely do not want
Yeah.
them in my house or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know what it is about that fishing spider, and I asked my father-in-law, who is an entomologist, and I was like, "Why do they bother me?" And he was just like, "I don't know." And I was like, "I can't." They had one in the lab on campus, and I would just see it, and I was just like, "Oh my
Ugh.
gosh." Like, I
Something about it.
and there would be a tarantula right next to it. Now am I gonna pick that tarantula up? No, I'm not, because that's not like a dog and a cat. Like, it's you know,
It's a
it's a
wild animal.
spider, right?
So is it
But
the movement of it, or is it more the, like,
I don't know.
static shape of it?
I don't know what it is about them.
Well, then,
All
like
the
would
Black
it
and
above.
freak you
yellow
out if it
ones
was
don't bother
still?
me. I mean, they're pretty every time I've seen them, they've been still. I
And
think
it
it's
freaks
because
you?
they've surprised me,
Yeah.
like everyone that I have approached in the
So
wild.
don't throw Jessica a surprise party, because she will cringe.
Yeah.
And if you do, it better not be a fishing trip.
Yeah.
I,
Do not throw that party.
went when I was a student with the UK Horticulture Club to Belize and Guatemala and Mexico. And while we were in Guatemala, we were looking at the ruins there and like walking through the jungle with our guide. And they have wild tarantulas there, right? And he picked one up just off the forest floor and goes, "Here," and then just set it on me before I really knew what was happening. So I do have a really cool picture from that, but that is
Of you panicking or just playing with the spider?
yeah, it was kind of like, don't panic or you're gonna freak it out, so you just kinda have to hold all your emotions in.
Oh, yeah.
They don't exist during that period of time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and they're really fragile, right? Like, I didn't know, like,
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
drop those things. Like, you would think like a spider, I always think of, like, spiders are sorta like
Yeah.
cats, right? Like, you can drop them and they're gonna be fine. That is not the case with tarantulas. They will, like,
That's right.
explode.
Well, they aren't getting up to those heights without some dumb human picking them up and putting them on somebody's shoulder.
I
They're like, "I'm
let it
staying in my
down
lane down here on
carefully.
the forest
Here,
floor."
listen,
Leave me
I'm
alone.
minding my own business.
I want a pet. Okay, listen. Those little jumping spiders are super cute though. The
those are
little
cute.
fuzzy
With the
ones
big
that are
eyes?
like, yeah, with the big eyes.
One like on Pixar.
Yes, very, but like even in real life they're that cute, I think. And
Mhm.
I'm not like a big spider lover, but I would totally have one of those as a pet.
I have
There's a
one living
YouTube
in my
guy that
mailbox right now.
Oh,
Oh,
there's a YouTube guy I
sorry.
follow who has, like,
yeah.
fish and lizards and stuff, and he has some jumping spiders.
Uh-huh. There's a girl I follow. She's got one of the white ones. They're not like
Oh,
something
wow.
we'd find here, but it's white, which is extra cute because you can really see all the little tiny cute details on it, and it's adorable. Like it'll like jump on her hand, and then like it's like a parrot. Like she takes it places. It's crazy.
Oh, seriously? Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't seen
Wow.
it out of the
Traveling spider.
container.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it'll jump on her hand, and I guess it had some babies, and it was like it was just like a little funny little Instagram reel about
Wow.
her
So
babies.
did she, like, release them in her house and turn her house into, like, a preserve for jumping spiders?
The babies were contained, I will say. So
Oh.
Those
Oh,
are so
mess around.
tiny.
I know, yeah, exactly. They're like dust flying around at the at the time.
We've talked about all these creepy crawlies, but we have not given much advice, not much advice on things that we can do to not eliminate. I don't think I've never seen anyone effectively eliminate in their home, like completely eliminate, minimize or reduce the prevalence of some of these fall invaders. Are there some things that we can do, I guess? We talked about the glue traps a little bit. That's one of the things I do just for the occasional, spiders mostly, because you guys, I've established my baseline disdain for spiders. But I do that for spiders. But what else? There's some other things that homeowners can do, isn't there? As far as helping the situation a little bit.
Just making sure, like, your windows seal good. I know a lot of people have issues with the attics, like, insects coming in through there. Like, my example, I have so many spiders coming in my doors and stuff is because we need, like, a new piece of, like, weather stripping on the bottom of our screen
Oh,
door,
yeah, that's a
right?
common one. That's
So,
a
like,
good
when
one, yeah.
our main door is open, it's just a screen door on because it's still, more, decent outside during the day, things can get under there. So that's, like, should be, a very easy fix.
You add in a couple kids and it becomes a little bit more of a task.
Seems like it's sealing around, like caulking. I've heard of caulking around windows.
Around like vents and pipes and stuff like that too.
Yeah. That's a big one in older and newer homes. You'll find even in newer homes around the, sink piping and, different utilities coming into the home. There'll be some pretty good caps sometimes, especially in older homes.
I'm staring at I live in an 1800s farmhouse, and I'm staring at the brick that has like all kinds of cracks in it, and I'm like, I bet they can get through there. There's like, mortar missing, and they're definitely coming in somewhere.
Yeah. And you'll see, like, because, sometimes we've had calls about, well, I have these insects and then they're all around this one window, right? Well, they're probably coming in other places, but then when it's a nice, warm, sunny day and they're warm inside your house, they're trying to get out because they think it's warm, and then they all are congregating, around the windows or particular rooms in the house. It doesn't necessarily mean that room is, the source where they're coming in, right? They're just trying to already get out of your house that way.
And that's a homeowners that I find, some of the questions I ask when we get calls about, some of the home insect invaders is, I do a lot of questioning on sun exposure and the type of material the home's built out of, and it all goes back to heat as far as being an attractive source for some of these things. And Jessica, I think you've already said it, is, when the temperatures start to drop, that's one of the, days get shorter, nights get longer, but the temperature has something to do with it. And I'm assuming that the orientation of a lot of the homes of folks, when I talk to them, it's homes that get like sun in the morning. And I guess that makes them more attractive to some of these insects because their neighbors won't have any issue, but their neighbor's house will be oriented just a little bit differently than theirs. Theirs will get more sun early.
Yeah, and I think that's really common with lady beetles, from what I've read about them, to do that.
Lady beetles is what I was thinking
and
of.
Those attic flies.
Yes, flies
more so
respond
than
to that
like
big time.
The stink bugs. The stink bugs are just like,
I think
we
they're
don't care
there.
as long as we
if it's warm, we're going.
Yeah. And then, like we were talking about earlier, they love, like, they come in high. I mean, they're going to get into a lot of different homes, but I have a lot of calls that are 2-story homes with I don't know why that is with the stink bugs. And I'd read that somewhere with Dr. Rick Besson, some of the information he put out that they tend to come in high on that. So yeah, but they don't seem to be as temperature sensitive. Yeah. Yeah, so
cool.
Screening and exclusion. We talked about vacuuming. Watch out for sucking those things up in bagged vacs, because you may have to put a new bag in. I do. When I forget and use the wrong vacuum, I do have to put a new bag in that thing. But glue traps, all of these are kind of a variety of controls that you can use. Notice that we didn't, in this entire discussion, didn't mention a lot of chemical controls. If you're a homeowner and want to explore that, you can call your local extension office, but that's not our first line of defense for these things. Not really.
Right. I was going to mention that. That's like the very, like with our IPM, right? Integrated pest management. That's going to be our last option that we choose to use. And
Because what if you do a good job and you kill them? Guess what? You're still going to have to remove them if you. And I really caution people about setting off. I mean, like there's many reasons why you would not like to set off a fogger inside your home, but let's say that you did something and killed a lot of lady beetles in a wall void. And that smell is going to stick with you for a
Haunt
while.
you.
And I've had, yes, it will haunt you. And I've had that situation from a homeowner. They did a great job, and then they opened wall voids, and there was just tens of thousands of in all of their walls, like these dead lady, and they actually made the problem worse by killing them when normally they would vacate the premises.
As somebody through grad school who had to go through like jars and jars of dead insects, that's a whole different smell that you do not want in your house.
Yeah, it is. It was awful. The smell was awful. Yeah.
Well, I would say, you mentioned IPM, one of the questions that we even evaluate with a pest or disease in IPM is like, is it causing some sort of, is it overcoming the economic threshold of damage?
Right.
Is this a real problem or not? Mm-hmm. And I think, the first step in not to down talk anybody's feelings is maybe just chill out about the bugs in your house a little bit.
Chill, dude.
Just
there are bugs to panic about in your house.
Don't get me wrong. Things to panic about, and there are things that are, it's kind of an inconvenience. It's kind of, but there's like the idea of we're gonna. I like your comment earlier, Jessica, that like insects and arachnids and others are all around us all the time, and sometimes it's just our awareness of it that makes us freak out about it. And it's like, imagine if you didn't know, if you weren't thinking about it. And so the scorched earth policy, to me, a lot of the stuff is just like not that big of a deal. So, if you can't chill out, then you move forward and address it, and with all the things we've talked about. But there is a part of you that can just be like, it's okay. This actually isn't harming anything. And
yeah. Go learn a little bit about it. I think that's what like helped me with a lot of insects was when I was like forced to take an entomology class and learned a little bit more about them, and some of that fear kind of subsides when you learn, hey, they don't actually bite, or they do, help. Those wolf spiders might be eating some of those stink bugs in your house, so that can be helpful as well, I think. And I mean, if you're listening to this, you are wanting to learn, but that I know that can be really helpful in scary situations for me. Yeah. Sweet.
For sure.
Any other lasting thoughts about your fall invaders? I feel like I need to put like a picture of an alien or a stink bug coming down from a UFO.
Army of stink bugs coming in.
As our Instagram photo, which you can go follow if you are on Instagram, and you can send us messages there if you would like, at Horticulture Pod, if you are of an interest, and you can look for said UFO stink bug thing. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna find it. I'm sure it's out there. Dr. Larson probably has one of those.
He probably
like that
does.
on his phone, if I had to guess.
As his wallpaper.
Wallpaper on his phone.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, cool. Well, thank you guys. Brett, anything? Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
Well, thanks for joining us. We wish you luck with your fall invaders, and maybe this has helped you chill a little bit. And if not, you maybe learned a new way to deal with them and ways to not let your vacuum stink. So thanks for being here with us today. And we hope that as we grow this podcast, you will grow with us. Have a great one.